Welcome to John and Dana Piawatti's bar here. I'm John Piawatti, retired fighter pilot, and going to give you some thoughts on my combat experience and on, war in general. I joined the Air Force in 1954 and was commissioned later on in 1962 and went to pilot training. At that time, it was 9 years since the Korean armistice, and there was not much in the way of combat or war on the horizon. Vietnam was just a little faint spark off far to the west, but I had a sense that I was going to see violence wrought on me, perhaps, and around the world. I started writing poetry. The first one I titled, Look at Us. Sing us our praises, mighty man. Look what we've done, how well we make things dead. Who was to look on us? The animals know naught, and God must shake his head. The next one was we're three together, the man, the plane, and the woman. And the man asks, what would I do if men were free and for power did not lust? What place would there be for me if planes were let to rust and no more patrols I'd keep in skies blue and above, when mankind could soundly sleep and wake and truly love? Do I want to see the day when I need fly no more, and when with death I need not play? God, could it be that I love war? In the plain, dumb grinning beast, swallow air and spew it flaming neath your tail. Rob the souls of men you drag aloft, rain fire on those below. And the woman plaints, Lord, let him live and love me as he ought. I serve him the best I can, though he has a mistress that fills his every thought. He lives with me, but he gives his love to an ugly winged machine. What is this aluminum beast that prostitutes his love, that makes him a stranger? Peace, oh God, I pray for peace, no war. Let the machine rust, and end the lust that draws him to his whore of death. At that time, the B-47 was flying missions carrying nukes, standing by to move north across the pole to Russia. And we had F-100s flying along our coast and F-102s flying, looking out for Russian bombers coming in. And these sentries were pretty much alone. I wrote the poem, Romance Today. Romance today for fighting men. I say it hasn't died. The ranks are filled with new recruits, and old war hawks have died or been replaced. And those who recall battles misty with a pass of time march no more, and no more troop the line. And youngsters thirst and go unquenched to hear the tales of battles won, and dream dreams of dares they've not yet done. Yet honor and dignity have these lads with sentry all alone, and skies above patrols they keep to guard the precious home of liberty. Let liberty look on these lads, as maidens did in prose and poem, smile on her nights, and blossoms drop to those who guard her home. When I got into combat in 1967, flying the F-105 over North Vietnam, I eventually became a flight lead and even once led the entire force of our 20 aircraft. When I was first upgraded to a flight lead with 4 aircraft, we had a target of Yen Bai Airfield. It's northwest of Hanoi, west-northwest, just off the Red River. You can look up on Google Earth and find Yen Bai, BAI Airfield. It's now a well-paved, modern airstrip. Then it was dirt and gravel, and it was being paved. I flew a mission there. After combat, after retirement from the Air Force, I for a while became a teacher at an international school in the Philippines, and I was teaching 12th grade IB literature. The students, the first day that I was there, I didn't get there till after the semester had started, replacing a woman on maternity leave. We were using the text All Quiet on the Western Front. And one of the youngsters said to me, Mr. Piawatti, can I ask you a question? Sure. Were you ever in the Army? No, I was in the Air Force. Were you ever in a war? Oh, yes, I was. Did you ever kill anybody? I said, no, my targets were, railroads and bridges and, storage areas and so forth, but I know some people died underneath those bombs, but it wasn't my intent to kill anybody. But, oh, wait, yes, one day I did. You killed people? I said, yes, a lot of people. What do you think about that? I said, I haven't thought about it. I'll think about it tonight and I'll tell you about it tomorrow. So the next day I described the mission, how as I was leading my 4 aircraft behind 3 other flights of 4, I looked forward to the runway about 6 miles away. Then I saw down to my left, low, 11 o'clock, a 6-barrel gun sight or 6-gun sight, 37 millimeter, firing at the people in front of me. So I told number 3, go to the runway. I'm going after these guns. And I rolled over and began my dive. Well, just rolling over took about 6 or 7 seconds, and the guns were focused on me. And then I came down for 8 seconds while they shot at me 1001, 1002, 1003. I thought I was being hit in the belly. The airplane was shaking, bam, bam, again and again. And finally, when I reached bombing parameters at 5,000 feet above the guns and 500 knots speed and so forth, 45 degrees bomb angle, dive angle, I released my bombs. I pulled off, rolled over, and they were still shooting at me. These chunks of iron coming past. I rolled up and over the other way, and the entire gun sight blew up. I wrote this poem, and I recited it to the kids. I turned the world upside down on my windscreen, and pointing my nose at the ground, flew into a stream of shock waves left by little 4-ounce baby bottles. But these were of 2 pounds of scrap iron and explosive fill that had passed a second earlier to explode where I had just been. 50, 60 more and more, and I raced to meet. The red dot of my gun sight crept up toward the bunkered guns. 6 red eyes blinking round and round in a circle, disciplined gunners protecting their eardrums. I stopped, hung there for a moment for the rest of my life. Couldn't we flip a coin to see who wins? Maybe drink a beer? Throw darts instead of steel-shrouded explosives? But could they not answer any more than I could ask? And then I was still going 1,000 miles an hour. I was ready for the guns and the gunners. Were they ready for me and my bombs? 6 guns, 6 bombs, 1 pilot against a site commander, 2 aimers each, 2 loaders each, 3 porters, 1 to 43, 43 to 1. And now, which team was the better, the luckier? I? But they don't have to remember the score now, do they? After reciting that poem, I asked the kids, with a bit of a lump in my throat as now, what's wrong with war? And they said, oh, young people are sent off to be killed. I turned to the blackboard. It was actually an old slate board with chalk. And I wrote down, young people are sent off to be killed. And in front of that, I put the number 2. Then I put the number 1 on the board above it. And I wrote, young people are sent off to kill other young people. And that's what I did. We should never send young people off to kill other young people without a firm intent to win, the will to win, and the means to win. Other than that, it's just murder on both sides. Well, after retirement, I went on to do a lot of other exciting things, a lot of flying. And one job took me to flying over Kosovo, trying to keep the 2 parties there, the Christians and Muslims, from killing each other. I was based, though, in Macedonia, and we had a small army contingent there. And I met an Army major, Deborah Bucher, and she told me a story of an Air Force captain, pardon me, Patricia Solway. And Patricia was walking up the sidewalk to the Fort Eustis Army Hospital one day, and coming toward her was a full colonel coming down the sidewalk, and directly in front of him, a shuffling old gray-haired retiree. Well, she raised her hand to salute the colonel, and the old man thought the salute was for him, and straightened up and responded with a salute. Said, thank you, Captain. And she wrote about the change in that old man's eye and stride just from that salute. So I wrote a poem called The Salute. I raised my hand to recognize the colonel coming by. The shuffling old gray hair in between, he never caught my eye, but he saw me and my salute and snapped his hand up to his brow and straightened up, a sudden different man. Well, the colonel smiled, and as did I. He saw the old man's mistake. Well, if he thought I'd saluted him, it just might serve to make his day a bit more proud. when he recalls another time when he served on land or sea or in war far away. Was it Ardennes or on the beach he watched his buddies die and penned the note to their mom or sis and paused to wonder why they got the golden BB while he came through unscathed. A victory parade in 45, crowds cheered and flags they waved. Then he was forgotten through Korea, Vietnam. Nothing left heroic in a shuffling gray-haired man, waiting now alone to die. Though part of him did die, in sand or snow or mud or in cold German skies. And who cares now for one old and gray and clothes ill fit and in the way of younger troops with things to do and new wars far away? But I care now as I saw change in the old man's eye and stride, as he marched head high to pass me by, his head held high with pride. Perhaps when I am old and gray, some young pup a third my age will raise his hand, salute to me, and never stop to gauge the time and years apart are we. But no, I never swerved from duty as I saw it, and like the old man too, I served. Well, I wrote that poem decades ago, and now I've become that old man. But I'd like to salute all of you, younger and older, who have served or who support those who do serve. Thanks very much, and cheers.